Okay. Well, I want to thank you for having me here. Tim Meharry called me and I was out the door thinking it was about 11:45 when I was leaving. It's about 12:14 when I was leaving. So I appreciate the phone call. I would not have been kicked it into fourth gear, so to speak. I'll tell you, this year just seems like it's flown by so fast, and already being in December it almost seems unreal. But, we're off to I call it a slow start. We've played awfully good competition, and we've got a team that needed to play good competition. We needed to be tested, but when you put yourself through that, you got to take the result of what you're putting your team through. And we've put our team, who I believe played the best team in the Lone Star in Cameron, who I believe played the best team in the MIAA in Fort Hays State, and who I think played the second best team in the Rocky Mountain Athletic Conference in Colorado School of Mines. I've always worked under a different belief, and sometimes when you look at your record, you wish you believed in different stuff. But I've always been under the belief that I don't want to go into conference play with questions. I don't want to get into December, January, still wondering what we are. I kind of like to know if it's going to be bad. I'd kind of like to know now so it doesn't ruin my Christmas and second semester. But if we're going to be good, and I like seeing how we respond to those types of things. We've been beaten over the head this semester, and we've always found a way to kind of come back, bounce back, and stay together. And to me, if you look at this thing as a game by game deal, then you lose what the journey is. And for us, the journey is to be the best team we can be. Whether that's 5th in the conference, 7th in the conference, 1st in the conference, we want to become the best team we can be. So losing some non-conference games, although you don't schedule them to lose them, you schedule them to test yourself. And I thought last year it helped us turn the corner. I got a funny team. I could not tell you what practice is going to be like today. I couldn't tell you what the next hour is going to bring for our team. We are so immature in just how we approach things. And I think sometimes that immaturity helps us because we don't understand, hey, we lost last night. Man, that should carry over to tomorrow. We don't understand that, and it doesn't. We just go play hard the next day. But we're going through some lessons right now that just have to be learned. Off the bench, we bring 5 freshmen off the bench that have never played college basketball before, and they're going through things. They're not playing Arnett anymore. They're not playing Putnam City High School anymore. They're playing people that are really good and really mature and have been through a lot of, they've been through a lot together. So we are 3-4 right now, but I can tell you as a coach, I really like our team. I really like this team. I'd like it a lot more if we could score more points, but I like them as people, and I like where we're going to be. I think we have some kids that are on the verge of really stepping up and playing well. Our seniors have been. We've been trying to make sure they don't get overrun by our sophomores and freshmen. Put it like that. When you got 3 seniors and then 13 underclassmen, sometimes the underclassmen take over the ship. So we've had to put the 3 coaches and the 3 seniors against everybody and wrestle this thing together. We have a group of guys that really want to be successful. Part of it, they don't know how, and you don't develop the understanding of how to do it in 3-4 weeks of practice. You have to go through some things, which we're going through now. A couple of guys that I think are worthy of talking about. A kid that played a big role for us last year, but we're asking him to do more this year, is Bruce Wright, 6'9", 6'8", forward for us. Took a back seat to what Jonathan did last year, Freemeyer and Marshall Bell. We brought him in knowing he could really score. And he's starting to get into that. I look at him every time we lose, I go, Bruce, you're supposed to be the one stepping up. Yeah. Then he'll go score 14 points in 4 minutes at Regis. He's starting to understand that his role has to be really big. He has to come up big every game. Brandon Woolley, another senior of us, a 5th-year senior, has been through a lot. He's starting to play really well for us. And then next week we'll get Easy Quarry back, 5th-year senior from Houston. He'll bring a lot of energy and toughness to our team. Just having him dressed is going to make us better. Trust me. He finds a way to make people around him better, and we really need that. I think some young kids that are really worth keeping an eye on with our team. Lakeem Henderson, a sophomore from Houston, left-handed kid, is starting to break out and play really well. I'm excited about what his year can bring. Kid named Adrian Motley, number 15, who played great out in Colorado this week and had played about as atrocious as you can play in the 3 games before. He's really starting to develop some confidence from our first game to now, is really starting to play well. So I'm excited about those two. We need them to step up and play well. I mean, we don't have the luxury of saying, hey, you guys are young, just wait your turn. I mean, it's your turn now. We're looking for those two to really step up. And then Jesse Smith, we need him to play better. Number 33, a sophomore. I would like to say his best basketball is still ahead of him, but there's no choice. I don't know if it can get much worse. I mean, he hasn't really played even, I wouldn't say he's even played really average. I mean, he's played poorly. And like he keeps telling me, he's like, Coach, I'm going to play better. And I keep looking at him saying, there's only one way to go. It's not like you're getting 10 points and 6 rebounds. I mean, you're getting nothing. So, I mean, it's going to have to be better. And it will be. He's one of those kids, if he was ever your son, you got to find a way to love him. I mean, he tries to get you not to, but you got to find a way. I mean, he's a really good kid. I don't mean to paint that picture, but he's one of the more frustrating kids if you're trying to get him to be more than what he thinks he can be. He's frustrating to coach because he will settle for being less than what he can be. And it's a constant wrestling match with him to get him to do more. And it's not as much effort as it is technique, fundamentals, the stuff that you can't run away from. He'll play hard every possession he's out there. He'll play really hard. It's the learning and the trying to do things the right way, trying to, live in a circle house. You're going to cut every corner to try to get to where he doesn't have to do everything the way it has to be done. We need him to step up and play really well. I think the thing you'll like about this team, if you've seen us play, which if you have, it hasn't been very well because we haven't played worth anything here. But this team will get better just about every game you go watch them. They are a determined group. They're a very resilient group. We lost on Friday by 18 to a very good team, had a chance to be in that game and played really well for about 32, 33 minutes. They came back Saturday, played a team that didn't play the night before like we did. It was a classic, and a team about a month ago dropped out of it. So the team we played Saturday didn't have to play Friday, spent the whole time preparing for us. And they also moved it to where the games weren't at one site. We had to go 2 Mines Friday, 2 Regis Saturday. So there was a lot of things that you could have just said, well, come on, that's not right. It could have affected the way you think and going, but we showed a lot of resiliency to go in there and be down 19-4 and then come back and beat them. So it's a team that's going to be tough. I mean, they've showed the signs of being a very resilient, very together, very determined team. They're just finding out now you have to play as hard as you can all the time. And I think young teams, you battle, I want to win, Coach. Yeah, but are you willing to play hard all the time to do it? Because playing hard for 30 minutes means you might win 30 minutes. There's a gap that young teams, I think, mentally step back because they're having to get out of what they have to take themselves to another level. So we're developing that as a team. We're putting games together now on the road, and I think Saturday is going to be a great test for us to see how much we've matured in the last 2 or 3 weeks. We come home. I think young kids play different at home than they play on the road. I do. I mean, I keep recruiting young teams and I keep recruiting freshmen, and I can't stand them. I mean, every year I was like, God, you recruit a lot of freshmen. Like, yeah, I do, and I believe in that, and I think that's the way to do it. But every year this time of year, I can't stand those young guys because they play better. They play better when their friends and parents know them, when they're not at the games. When we go out to a Denver or we go out to a Arkansas where everybody wants you to lose, they come together, they play really well. I think when they play poorly at home, it affects them up here a little bit because it is important to them to play well at home and to be good at home. I think it affects how they respond to adversity. That's just being young and immature. That's not that's not the way it should be, but that's the way. I remember Marshall and Jonathan Olin when they were the same thing. They played better on the road, it seemed like. And we got to develop that mentality where it's personal to play at home and it's personal to win at home and protect our home floor. But you got to go through some of those things to be able to develop that. So I'm very excited about the rest of this season. We're 7 games in. We got 19 really competitive games left. And I think you're going to see a team in February that you're not going to recognize from December. I mean, you're going to see a lot of guys that look like they're older 2 months from now because they show a lot of things in practice. They're very competitive. They really want to be good. They're just still figuring out how to do that against good teams. So we believe, like I said before, that our non-conference schedule has prepared us to be good in the GAC. We think we've played some teams that are better than our top competition in our league. But our league is very similar to last year. There is no team in the league that we can't beat, and there is absolutely no team in the league that can't beat us. There's not a big enough gap where one is just going to handle 11 every week. I mean, that 11 can beat one. The talent, everybody in this league does a good job recruiting, and nobody is without resources. So you don't see the gap of, well, you don't have haves and have-nots. Everybody is in position with their institution and what they have, including us, to be a have. You'll end up having an 11th place team. You'll end up having a first place team. But that gap is going to be very narrow on how those teams got there. And I'll end with this. I tell our guys every day that gap is filled with 3 really important things that not everybody can achieve. It's the really together teams are going to find a way to make it through some of the adverse games to either come back and win or to bounce back that Saturday after a Thursday and have the character to play tough and be able to win. Teams that are weak-minded let one loss turn into 2 and 3 and 4 because they can't bounce out of it up here. Then the other thing is we've got to be determined to get tougher and better every day. We should not be the team today that we are next week if we're determined to get better. And then the third thing is we've got to make sure that no matter what, we become one of the most together teams. Because last year, I'm sitting here after a 3-4 start, and we were 1-5 at one time last year, and really starting, what do we do? We had great leadership, but we kept our determination to get a little bit better. We felt like we were really close. This time last year, 1-5, we're really close. And everybody's looking at us going, are you crazy? You're not anywhere close. It's not a belief that you got to get from other people. It's a belief that we got to get from each other. So if we'll maintain those 3 things and, I figure out how to get some things done as a coach, I think this team will get better and better as the year goes. So I wouldn't, you're looking at a coaching staff and team. There's no panic with us. I mean, we think we're going to be good. And we think we've got the character and the kids that we can keep getting it turned around and become a very tough team to deal with as January and February come along. So I would, you guys probably have questions. And I would like to field questions more than I would just stand up here and talk. So anybody have any questions about, I can't really talk to you much about volleyball or women's basketball or football, but I consider myself an expert on the men's basketball side of things. Yes, sir.
I was just kind of curious, how many coaches do you have?
I have a full-time assistant coach who also is the head cross-country coach. He doubles in those 2 duties. His name is Jeremy Jones. And then I have a student assistant coach who's working on his bachelor still named Brandon Willis. He graduated from Edmond Santa Fe High School. He's been helping with an AAU program in Oklahoma City called the Oklahoma Wizards. He's like a 23-year-old sophomore. He's just been kind of doing volunteer coaching at Edmond Santa Fe at his alma mater and with AAU. And we met this summer, and his AAU coach really encouraged him to come up here. And you need to get your degree before you do any of that stuff. And he was going to Oklahoma City Community College and OSU Tech, but with no real direction. So, it's going to take him 2.5 to 3 years to finish his degree, but he actually does a really good job. But it's hard to ask him to do what a normal full-time assistant would do when he's in 16 hours of school and really getting his feet wet from being back in school. It's been a 1.5 years since he's taken full-time college classes. So we've gotten him started off with more, paperwork and travel plan type stuff and getting him kind of acclimated. But we got a good staff and we got good people. We got two really eager managers that help us out. That are one's from Mustang and the other one's from San Antonio. They do a really good job helping just get little things done that you kind of scramble at the last second to do when you don't have help. And I'm talking to teachers at the college. Everybody has jobs where it's not. If it were just teaching math, your job would be great. But there's just a lot that goes along with it that don't include that. So when you have people like that are eager to get into coaching and are willing to give you free help, so to speak, it's pretty valuable. So we're lucky enough to have that this year. So what else?
How much scoring was it that those three guys take away per game?
About 47 points a game, but more importantly, about 48% from the field. I mean, they didn't have to take many shots to make shots, And when you replace seniors with freshmen and sophomores, you're asking for it. I mean, I can't stand up here and be too upset. I mean, I don't necessarily get to pick everybody I want, but we sure get a nice pool of talent to recruit and kind of pick from and go what we want, and we got the guys we wanted. So we feel good. We just know there's a little bit of some growing pains that have to happen for us to be where we want to be.
Do you ever go to junior colleges just to be able to get some?
Traditionally we have, and that's going to be an area we'll probably try to get a junior college kid this year. I don't know how familiar you are with the situation we've been in with the process of going NCAA. We had to serve a 3-year, not a probation, but a 3-year where we couldn't participate in postseason. Probation makes it sound like you did something wrong, but what we had to agree to when we went NCAA is they put you through a 3-year process to get into the NCAA, which includes not being able to participate in postseason until you are fully admitted into NCAA. Like I said, which is a 3-year process, which we're in year 2 of right now. So the end of this year and then the next year, we can't participate in the conference tournament or the NCAA tournament. It was really hard last spring to convince a junior college kid that you're only 2 years of playing. We could go 24-2 and you can't play. They kept asking me questions last year, and we recruited 2 or 3 that would have really given us more immediate help. But the question came up, Coach, what happens if you guys won the league last year and didn't go to the conference tournament? What happens next year? I said, well, it's the same these next 2 seasons. So we picked 2 or 3. We really tried to work those 3, but we didn't spend time working 15 or 20 kids knowing that's just a battle you're going to fight. And that's really hard to ask a kid who's competitive and really wants a chance to compete at that level to say, hey, come play your 2 years here because, hey, we've done a heck of a job recruiting you. I mean, you really like me, and and I know you can go here and do this, but you like me enough to just forget all that. It's hard to do. And so we felt like we were getting better reception from the high school kids that we recruited. It's a direction I believe is the right way to go. The best teams that we've ever had, in my opinion, are teams that had a transfer mixed in with a base of kids that have been here for 4 and 5 years. And the example I'll use is when we brought in Orrin Timms and Tiago Guilherme with Marshall and Jonathan and Brandon and Easy. We had a base of guys, and we brought in a couple of guys that helped bring some experience to a young team. I think that's the way to do it. It's not something I'm going to sit and argue and debate. I mean, some teams, we've played against teams this year that had 14 players and they were all transfers. And to me, that's hard to do. It's hard to do when you want to have guys that know the fight song, and you want to have guys that really want to be here, and you want to have guys that come back and support the program later on. It's hard to do. I call it trying to run a mercenary deal. It's hard to do it with all mercenaries. I think you have to have it. I think you have to have some balance. I don't probably think you should probably have all 14 guys that are going to be here for. I don't know if 14 guys can put up with me for 4 or 5 years, but I think you have to have a healthy mix of 1 or 2. But I think your program, in my opinion, and I think at a school like ours, in a town like ours, where there's a lot of pride around it, kids do feed off of that once they've been here. Freshmen don't get it. They don't. But once they've been here a little while, they start to see how important it is when they play here, and then you compare it to going and playing like at Southern Arkansas or Arkansas Tech or somewhere where they have good programs, but it's not as important in their community as it is in ours. So I think having kids that have been here for long really works to our favor, just not when they're freshmen, you know. But no, I think that's important. So
It's easy to start as soon as he's eligible.
I don't know about that, but I mean, he's just put it this way: he's going to be tired as soon as he gets back. I mean, we're not going to waste any time getting him going. He works awfully hard every day. I mean, he's one of our top 2 players. So he just, you know, he needs to serve out this last game and be done. Yeah. He's a lot of guys. You have to try to motivate him. With him, you got to calm him down. You got to. Most guys, you got, come on, you're fine. With him, you're like, hey, relax. There's still 38 minutes left. Just let it come to you. But that's a good problem to have. I mean, trust me, for 7 games, I've missed having that problem. So, and he fits in really well with Brandon Woolley. We started putting those 2 in the starting lineup together last year, about 3 games in, and you've got one of the better defenders in the conference at each spot when you do that. I mean, those are 2 of the top defenders in the league, and you've got them on each wing guarding really good players. I mean, they're hard to prepare for. It's hard to prepare to go at those guys. So it'll be nice to have them back. It's been great to be able to play somebody like Ryan Radcliffe and Lakeem Henderson more, because they're going to give us more depth when he does get back. I mean, they've got a lot of game experience under their belt. So there's always a silver lining, and with that, it's been those 2 getting really good playing time. So we're excited about that. Yes.
I think the rivalry with Southwestern will kind of pick up, especially now
I don't-
they've got a new coach.
I don't know that needed any more juice to it. If you were at the game at our place, we had a really good atmosphere. And when we went to their place, second to last game of the year, it was an unreal atmosphere. I mean, it was. I think our guys were taken back by it. I expected a really good atmosphere. I didn't expect that, and I didn't. I think it was the difference between a rivalry and 2 people that just flat out can't stand each other. And that's what the game at their place seemed like. The game at our place seemed like Northwestern Southwestern. The game at their place seemed really personal. And I can tell you that rivalry with me is really personal. And it's really to me, whether it doesn't matter, you know, people keep mentioning they've got a new coach, and they do. But I mean, really, and they asked me, well, how much do you talk to the new coach? I said, about as much as I've talked to the last coach they had. I mean, not much. I mean, unless we can't find the gym, there's no reason really for me to be calling down there. But I think that, I mean, sometimes honesty. I didn't hear what you said.
Did you?
Well, I'll probably be talking to him a little bit from where I sit.
I think my lack of talking will be made up from other people. So I'm not. We have to approach that. It's obviously different, but we have to approach that as 2 of 20, and it is. And for us, the biggest game of the year is Southern Nazarene University, who, by the way, you know, has kept us out of 2 NAIA national tournaments and has kept us from winning 2 Sooner Athletic Conference championships. So we don't like them very much either. The biggest thing I think with us that we learned last year is we got too amped up for that game. In my opinion, we were too ready. You know, and if you remember, we had all that snow and ice, and it was. I mean, we had guys that had gone 2.5 days without taking a real shower, and I mean, they were just excited to get down there to be able to take a real shower. And so, when we got there, it was they were too much. We're gonna smash these guys. We're gonna smash these guys. I'm like, guys, we just need to go get off to a good start. And we got off to a really poor start. And we dug our way back the whole game to cut that thing to 1. And we have to approach that like we would any other game. I think the team that's the most poised and the team that's playing their best is going to win those games. I mean, that the rivalry will give somebody a home court advantage and all those things, but at the end of the day, it's going to come down to the team that's the most prepared, that's got their team most ready, and that's the most together and the toughest team. And that's just what I believe. So, yeah, and they're pretty good too. I mean, you'd like for them not to be very good. It always makes it more fun, but they're pretty good. They're pretty good too. So, anything else? Okay. Well, thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed it.